I'm honestly of two minds about doing this review. On one hand, these two were very generously provided to me by my friend and fan, Visible Ninja, and I've been looking for a good excuse to review both at the same time, and this little theme week of mine is a perfect excuse. Then again, it is TFCC, and I kind of feel dirty saying anything good about them lately. But my dislike of Fun Pub is outweighed by my love of my fans, so we will begrudgingly say nice things about something they made. And just like Jetfire and Jetstorm, we're going to focus on one of them and bring the other one in when necessary. Starting with Runamuck. We're focusing on him because he gets to keep his name, and I'm not going to screw it up nearly as much on camera. As you can see, it is the Trax mold from Reveal the Shield / Generations / this is supposed to be Generations, but we only have so much room, etc. It's slightly Corvette-ish in design and layout, but you also have some of Wheeljack's extra molding in, such as this big scoop in the front. It's a nice vehicle mode. I was worried about this being cast from the Wheeljack mold because it's, again, another white take on the mold, but I do think Runamuck does a nice job of presenting his own characterization to it. I like the idea of painting up the sides instead, which is G1 accurate, but it does give him a much more unique profile. It sets him apart from Wheeljack just enough to get away with it. Also, giant Decepticon emblem on the front. That does also kind of separate him from Wheeljack. I do really like the shade of gold they use on here. It's got a really deep metal flake effect to it. It really kind of reminds me of the old school kind of gold leaf paint jobs that were done on more old school paint jobs. And I'm losing track of thought here. Okay, so yeah, it's a very nice vehicle. Very nicely molded. As you can see, I love the gold detailing. It is a nice shade of gold. In the front, grille done up in gold as well. You also get some orange and silver done up for the turn signals and headlights respectively. Here in the back, tail lights are done up in red as well as this section on the back. You can see some exhaust molded in as well as door handles, headlights, vents on the hood, etc. This is also one of those nice ones that has a gas cap molded in on one side, but not the other. They're paying attention. So yeah, it's a very nice mold. It's a very nice vehicle mode. And I will admit, I like Overrun better. Now, of course, this is Runabout, but we legally can't call him Runabout because someone else has that name. But you can see he does keep to the traditional vehicle mode colors of his, what's supposed to be his namesake. Black and red and looking absolutely beautiful. This really pushes just how much attitude this mold can really bring out. You can see the mold, the paint differences rather, pretty harshly between the two. Some extra paint on the scoop rather than on the grille. Of course, his choice of racing stripes go down the middle rather than the sides. The rear, mostly the same. Though if you had this section painted, you probably wouldn't notice, so, I'm going to call it identical for now. What really stands out, of course, are the red windshields. It gives him a Stunticon vibe, but again, that is accurate. What I kind of upset about is, I don't mind the look of this, but it doesn't really carry the G1 accuracy that Runamuck does. I really would have preferred if these were over on the side as well, but not only to preserve the accuracy, but to get across just how identical these two are supposed to be in vehicle mode as well. In G1, the side striping was different on both of them too, but at least it kept the theme of these two looking alike in vehicle mode a lot better than these two do. If you told me that was Wild Rider, I would probably believe you. It doesn't have the mesh detail, but it looks pretty spot on. These do look like different characters. I do appreciate little details that match identically, though, like the rub symbol on top and the Decepticon emblems are in the same exact spots, so that's a nice subtle detail. I do like that the wheels are both trimmed in white paint, so there is some details mirrored between the two. It's not a whole lot, really. So I'm going to set him aside now. We're going to focus a little bit more on this guy. Now, this is the tracks mold, so he does technically have a flight mode. To see it, first we need to take these off, which are part of his weapon storage. We'll go ahead and start the transformation effect for this guy, because we need to undo a lot of these little pins and tabs in order to actually get the wings out. So this done up that way, unfold the wing, unfold that wing, close shell back down, and for a little bit of extra flavor, we can reattach these weapons to the side pegs and get a little bit of mid-flight armament out of them. Plug in right there. And that is how that looks. It is it's a little bit wonky. I'm not gonna lie here. I've never really been a fan of Trax's flight modes because it's a little bit improvisational. It doesn't quite look like something that was fully designed out. In this case, even more so. You see they hang way below the tire line, so there's no real resting in the flight mode. It's just kind of there. It is a mode meant for being held onto. So it's always been a little funky, but it is there. It is viable to a certain extent, just because that's what the mold was known to do, so that's what it could do. So as long as we've started the transformation, we might as well carry it forward. We'll get this out and remove the other part of his weapon storage, which we'll need all of that a little bit later. I'm going to go ahead and pop all of this out from each other. We will go ahead and take the feet down. He's using Wheeljack's transformation, so the legs are a little bit stubbier than they are on Trax, and we'll be using the front side rather than the back, which are not painted on this release. A little bit of automorph for you, pushing this. Hang on. If I actually have it oriented correctly so there's clearance, all that can. Come on. Cooperate with me. Yeesh. Alright. Do you have enough clearance now? Yeah, you do. A little bit of automorph, bringing the shoulders out, bringing the head up by raising up the windshield. So, let's see. We'll get all of this arranged like so. A lot of little bits and twists that take the arms that way. Go ahead and fold the wings out again. Get them in their proper mounting position. Now this. To mount the whole back section up. Need to, hang on. Those need to angle like so. Now, gotta stay there. These need to tab into the back right there in order to secure up the back shell. And that, my friends, gives us Runamuck in robot mode. And of course, he is joined by his partner in crime, the formerly known Runabout, now Overrun. You know, the strange thing, like, ever since I saw them in the original G1 cartoon as a kid, I could have sworn these two were twin brothers or something. I mean, Runabout, Runamuck, I mean, identical vehicles and robot modes, just difference in paint job. But in doing the research for this review, I didn't find anything that actually referred to them as twins or even brothers. Just partners who happen to have similar names and very similar bodies. It's kind of weird. But hey, at least that's something unique, I guess. And they just destined to be partners, I guess. Let's look at the new head sculpt, because it's pretty spot on. You know, like most of the head sculpts they did for Generations and Universe, etc., it's pretty spot on to how the original G1 would look if it was done up to date. This is the era where TFCC was really getting good with their head sculpting, and it really kind of shows on this one. It does look a little bit weird with the nose completely sticking out, because generally it would the bridge or the front of it, like the tip would start to be covered up by the mouth plate. A little bit weird, but hey, it works. It looks like Runamuck to me, so who might argue? Ton more orange in this mode, and it really pops out as a dominant color. Kind of gets a little bit of a creamsicle look to him, but I don't mind it. You know, that's just kind of how he rolls. He is in that category of Decepticons who really do not look like Decepticons. He is a very bright color palette that does not immediately strike me as evil warrior, servant of Galvatron, etc. You know, especially with the gold detailing as well. White and gold is always going to be very paladin, very heroic styling. So the fact that he manages to keep any evil vestiges about him is kind of an amazing thing in and of itself. Still, really uses that wheeljack mold well. I do like the details. I do like how much it does resemble the original G1 toy. You know, and you can actually make that a little bit stronger because part of what makes it work is the backpack. Ironically, what's just kibble on wheeljack is actually toy accurate here, and it is actually possible to unpeg some things, fold some things away, and actually get a more, hang on, I'll go ahead and show you. A bit more of a G1 accurate look with that sweeping directly behind his head, which gives it a little bit more cartoon accuracy as well. Nothing pegs in this way though, so I always feel a little bit weird leaving it that way. It's a nice novelty, and if TFCC intended for that to be like one of the inspirations for using this particular mold, then I should probably give them more props because that's a pretty ingenious use of the kibble. Let's get to actual function of the toy, since, you know, pretty much all the details there, you can see it pretty well. There's not a whole lot new from vehicle mode. We have full neck articulation with the ball joint, ball jointed shoulders, which get a good range of motion. There's another hinge toward the torso if you need it. Bicep rotation, double jointed elbow, love those. And we have a swivel at the wrist. Hips, they ball joint quite well. Now, because of his like stocky nature, the windshield does get in the way of his legs moving forward, which is unfortunate. But I don't know, I'm not gonna do karate kicks with this guy. You can tilt it forward though. It is hinged, so you can get a little bit of extra rotation if you want to. Nice and thoughtful design. There is a rotation just above the knee. The knee itself gets a good 90 degrees. And you have a rocking ankle, which also goes back and forth. So plenty of articulation in this guy. Very good mold for posing. Very good mold for just playing around with and just generally enjoying, as toys should be. From here on, we also have, of course, Overrun. And I have to pause every time to get that name. It's Runabout. What are you gonna do? His extra color happens to be gray, so he sticks with the red as his predominant color, and I kind of like that. Here you can definitely get the identical twin thing going across a little bit more strongly. That aside, I can kind of appreciate how Runabout lets his normal red color still shine through, and his extra color is very subdued, whereas Runamuck, it's the brightest color on him. It's what stands out the most. So while they still have this very identical thing going, they manage to separate themselves out in just the right way. It's a very subtle trick of colors, but it works really well on these two. And I will admit, I'm still a sucker for red and black. That just looks so freaking cool. Red, black, and silver or gray is just such a hard color scheme to get wrong. And Overrun, Runabout, whatever you want to call him, he definitely nails it. So, we set him aside again and continue to focus on our creamsicle friend here. We have accessory weapons, which we have a gun, which is Wheeljack's shoulder missile, and the C-clip is still there if you actually want to attach it to that shoulder. But we have better uses in mind for this. We'll actually use this as his handgun. This is a little handheld rocket, I guess. And then we have the extra weapons, which on Wheeljack, again, these were wrenches. However, we're going to go ahead and mount them on the shoulders. This is how Trax did things with the accessories. So this kind of is, again, a way of separating him out from Wheeljack, using the accessories in the opposite manner. And it does give him a little bit more of a weaponized profile. And I will admit, it's way better than the G1 toy did, just clipping the weapon to the side of his arm. I like how heavily armed he is, though. And I like how many options the weapons have. I mean, this is the C-clip era. So you also have those bars at the top that could mount other C-clip weapons should you have them. Which always nice. It was a nice subtle gimmick. It invited a lot of interplay between the toys. But I do like him better. I do like, as a Decepticon, I like him looking a little bit more heavily armed. And just to wrap up, we won't leave you out of it. Here you go. If you actually like the separation of the twin thing, you can also, you know, switch up the weapons. Technically, we could also like switch up the, well, I guess not, because it really doesn't pan out in this version of the mold, does it? Oh well. But yeah, if you want to separate them out a little bit more, the weapons can be switched around. So, you know, just in case you want to have one wielding wrenches for weapons, but, you know, whatever. So that's pretty much about it for the toys. It's a nice mold. It transforms well. I do like all the little play touches you can do. You know, the flight mode, the extra accessories, all that. There's a lot of little play touches that make these very worthwhile toys. They're not the most solid feeling Transformers. I mean, like, nothing's hollowed out, but most of the parts are just kind of shell. As you can see, the legs are kind of hollow, but not hollow. It's, you know, it's kind of weird to describe it. So they're not the most solid of figures, but they do work out for what they're intending to do. And I do think they are extremely good uses of the Wheeljack mold to create these two characters again. So, yeah, I will admit, sometimes they actually get it right over at Fun Pub, creating characters that Hasbro probably would never normally touch, and making sure they get really good figures and not get left behind. You know, something that fans would want but can't normally get. As opposed to things like forcing Beast Wars characters into toys just because, into vehicles, just because it's the 20th anniversary and you want to use Combiner War molds. You're gonna have to go see another video series I do in order to get all my thoughts on how BotCon has been acting lately. I will save it for then. For now, we'll keep it positive and say thank you again, Visible Ninja, for sending these my way. They are, admittedly, very cool. Blah, 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 blah.